who inspired Professor Sko? Like, how did this all come about?
That's a great question. So I've always kind of had this dream of wanting to create a live science show, and it's really based off of when I grew up. I really enjoyed Bill Nye the Science Guy. Yeah. And you talk about that teacher that has influenced your daughter and getting her excited about science. And I didn't really have that growing up besides, watching Bill Nye. I didn't really have a female mentor that encouraged me in the sciences.
You're listening to Oh My Omaha, the podcast, where we uncover inspiring things about our community through the stories of inspiring people who call it home. I am Dee Harrell, and this is the creator of Oh My Omaha, the blog, and the blogosphere's friendliest face herself, Kim Reiner.
Hi there.
Hey, Kim.
Hey, nice seeing you.
You too. How's it going?
It's a busy time of year.
How was the wedding?
Okay. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
And I've kind of told you about this. There were some interesting parts where I just have never seen it happen in a wedding before. And so it was a Catholic wedding, and which I've gone to many of those. Yeah. And the priest is doing a homily, and he's talking about this documentary he saw about this German man in the 1930s that he might become a saint eventually, but like he's telling the story about him, and in the middle of this homily at the wedding, he's talking about Hitler. Like, I've never been to a wedding where Hitler's come up. And
right?
Okay, this is memorable at least. So. Everyone's just like, you're Hitler? Like, Nazis? Talking right up in the wedding.
Did the point land?
It did. It was, eventually it was about the wife staying by the husband, even though he's on trial and sticking to their convictions together.
Yes, that's okay. Against
Nazism or whatever, So.
Yeah, sure.
It was beautiful, and it was a really cool reception.
Yeah.
And we tried to make the most of a quick trip to Kansas City. And have you ever been to the River Market where they have like the big farmers market?
Yeah.
And
is it still going on?
Oh yeah, it's year round now.
Oh.
And they have all these amazing international restaurants. And so we just went around like smelling spices and figuring out which country we want to dine in.
Yeah.
We had
That's
Brazilian
cool.
food, and so it's cool.
Nice. That's awesome.
And the kids appreciated it more now. I think when we went when they were younger, it was just kind of meh.
Yeah. I can't wait. You're so lucky to be able to travel with your kids all the time and do all those things and see how how things change with them as they grow.
Right.
That's a really cool thing.
Yeah, and what we do is like totally different now. Except like Charlotte has not changed. Like she is still very much an animal person, and like so farmers market looking for the dogs.
Yeah.
And then Henry's kind of evolved. It's still a bit history and cool design stuff.
Yeah.
At least he'll try weird food or different foods. That's
I love that. So. It's the experimentation of it, right?
We try.
Yeah. I love that so much.
Introduce them to different things.
Yeah. Well, your kids are very adaptable.
Yeah. I think they're kind of like teens now. They're kind of pushing back on some things. But as much as
finding their voice
can be, yes.
Yes. We want to encourage the finding of their voice. Yeah.
And they've got to have their opinions, and it's good.
Yeah. Parker, so because they're older, both my kids have their own apartments. I'm always like, hey, what's up? And both of them, all three of us are not great at responding to texts. We're very, we're not tied to our phones. And so like, we're terrible at replying fast. But they are very bad lately because, I'm their mom and they can just push me off. But I'm like, please respond. I miss you so much. But Parker and I were actually just talking about, she saw one of her high school teachers just in passing the other day. And I loved this high school teacher. She really put in thought, especially during COVID, on the instructions of the classes that she was, or the classes that she had to conduct or put on. She's part of NASA. Was part of my program at Westside, cool. But she did these really, really cool interactive, she planned it out. She was scripted. She had great experiments that she did on camera, like while she was teaching classes, and pre-recorded things. And Parker wants to get into mechanical engineering. You know, she's an artist, and she wants to, and really, we attribute a lot of her like love of as an artist, but a lot of her like sciencey brain, like wants and desires, to that specific teacher, which I thought was a really cool segue for our.
That's fitting,
for our guest today.
Yes. So, in the studio with us today is Brenda Skoczelas. Hopefully I pronounced it.
That's correct.
Close enough. She's a college physics professor, but she's well known as Professor Sko. She's a host of a science show for kids and families on stage and on YouTube. And she's in the Omaha area recently because she was invited to speak at a conference, and maybe have you talk about that a little bit. And so we're excited to have her in the studio.
Well, thank you so much.
Welcome.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes. So tell everybody how you were end up in Omaha right now.
Yes, so I have this, the Professor Sko science show, and we've been working on this now almost 5 years. We've been doing the show, and we have my partner who does the show with me has moved to Nebraska, teaches at Nebraska Wesleyan University, and so we got connected with the National Science Foundation through Nebraska EPSCoR. And so they have given us some funding in the past, and they asked us to speak at the NSF National Conference that was hosted here in Omaha. And so we had the opportunity to kind of debut and present our character that we've created to help engage young people in science and get them excited and hopefully attract them to different STEM fields at this conference. And that's what we were doing in Omaha.
Fantastic. What or who inspired Professor Sko? Like, how did this all come about?
That's a great question. So I've always kind of had this dream of wanting to create a live science show, and it's really based off of when I grew up. I really enjoyed Bill Nye the Science Guy. And you talk about that teacher that has influenced your daughter and getting her excited about science. And I didn't really have that growing up besides, watching Bill Nye. I didn't really have a female mentor that encouraged me in the sciences. And I was like desperate for that. And so this character I've created is basically what, like, I wish I had when I was 8 or 9 years old. Like, I would have loved a Professor Sko. And so that's where, I kind of wanted to be that female role model that I didn't have growing up. And so that's where she came from.
That's awesome.
Just awesome. Yeah. So 5 years. So through COVID or through the pandemic.
Yes.
So how was that? Recording during that kind of.
So we never planned. I wanted to just do fun, live, quirky, silly science shows, and we started out great, and then boom, the pandemic hits, and no more live shows. But we were gaining some momentum, and I was seeing how the young kids were reacting to Professor Sko, and so we decided to start our YouTube channel. Yeah. And so that's where, through COVID, we decided, let's go all in on this, and we're going to release a new video every week. So we have over 50 videos on YouTube now because of that. Yeah. And I'm glad that happened for us, in that it forced us to build up that library of science videos. And so we did that all through the pandemic. And then we also, since the pandemic, are back to live shows, but we've also come up with this idea of, you were mentioning that teacher who did engaging experiments and recorded them. Yeah. Well, we now have virtual Zoom labs where teachers can actually request, I'll send them a kit directly from Sko Labs, and then I will live science with them. So I'll be in the character, and it's a chance for the teacher to take that hour off, and she can just play, or he can just play with the students. Yeah. And Professor Sko teaches the class virtually, and they have everything in their little Sko kit to science along with her. Yeah. So we now have that as well. And also during the pandemic, we started building up like just our teacher resources. So we have like lesson plans that go along with the videos available, and bell ringers and things like that.
That's awesome.
And what age range are you kind of?
Well, it started out as I thought it was going to be like late elementary, middle school. And I thought, you know what? I think I want to target that age range because I feel like that's maybe where we're starting to lose some of the young girls, losing interest in science. I have learned, and this is probably one of the most surprising things about Professor Sko, there is no age for like demographic for her. It's pre-K are mesmerized by all of her colors. She's very colorful and excited. They may not know exactly what's going on, but they're just, she kind of captures their attention. And then I now am incorporating like family STEM nights, and the parents are actually really enjoying it. And I do a summer science show where it's for grandparents bringing in their kids. And so we've learned that it really is no age. Even I can get my college students will ask for, let's watch a Professor Sko video, and they get into it.
I was going to ask you if your college students know who you are. Like,
And even when we first debuted her, I was very nervous because we had the character in our heads that we had created. We were about to, show her off, and it was in front of high school students and my colleagues. And I'm like, oh no, I'm feeling a little bit of embarrassment, and how, will they go along with this and buy into it? And they all did. So it's really all ages.
That's super cool. I think it's fun to hear the evolution of how you took your career in education and then broadened it into social media. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's
kind of meeting where kids are. Like some kids get their information strictly through social media, or you're more legit if you're on YouTube or whatever.
Right. We got the YouTube, and then just this past year, we're now, we're on Instagram, and we have TikTok, and we had our first video go what we consider viral. We were, it had 750,000 views, and we were just like so excited that this was happening. And so any way that we can reach the students and the kids, we're trying.
That's awesome.
I want to talk about like how when I was reading up on you, and that you were interested in, and not only just keeping kids interested from young age onto teenage and adulthood, keep them interested in STEM, but also focusing specifically on young girls and keeping them engaged and feeling that they could be a part of it. My daughter started getting into robotics because her brother was, so my son was.
Yeah.
And some, like, I don't want to disparage her team, but like her first year in it, they went to Worlds, and it was amazing. It was really neat to go. And at the tournament, they had an area set aside, and it was a lounge area, and it was geared toward girls, and it was like, so it was all kind of soft seating and fluffy seating and all these photo ops, and there were cool things to do, like video games, so all the boys were coming in too, but it was like, it was made for girls to feel like they had a spot there. And so it was neat to see that organizations are making this effort. And the only thing that so robotics has opened my eyes to, that there are like girls that are really into STEM and everything, but like as they're getting a little older, so like my son was in the older kids team for 8th graders, and there was only one girl on his team, and she was just a brilliant girl, but just she was embarrassed when they made announcements about like the team made it to state, and they said their names, and she was like, it's not. Her mom was like livid too. Like, I can't believe she's upset now that people know she's in robotics. It's something to be proud of. And it's like, so there's still like, there's still a ways to go of like, it's tough. And I constantly had this question of like, do I belong? When you're the only, I was the only female in my graduating class in physics, and just constantly like, you're not seeing anybody that looks like you, and you do I fit in? Is this really for me? And hearing that she was almost embarrassed a little bit or uncomfortable, and I understand that. And I think that's why I was thinking like targeting maybe, high schoolers initially more so. And it's just that it seems like the ages are going lower and lower to where it's like, if you can put that into their, like that excitement and energy really, really young, it tends to stay with them. And so even as they get older and they may get,
be second guessing, where do I belong? Is this for me? Hopefully you've planted that seed very young that absolutely.
Still love it, so.
Yeah, that's a good point. I read that you're a big athlete as well. And I think that's something that has the same thing in a commonality in the sense of not feeling like we belong all the time as females in that kind of space. Do you feel like that's something you experienced as well, kind of in shifting gears into like the athletic parts of your space?
Yeah, well, it's a neat, and that's what I want the Professor Sko character to encompass is, science is for everyone and really about being yourself, being your own unique self. And I was a college athlete, and I used to be made fun of all the time by my teammates because I was a math major, and it just out of all the other majors on the team, it kind of stood out there.
Yeah.
And then being even in high school, I was friends with all of the athletes, but I was also in robotics club, and it was this interesting trying to merge the two worlds was tough for me.
Yeah.
Wanting to be very much into sports and loving that, but at the same time being like a brainiac in terms of like the club and brain games and all of that. I think it definitely, I want to see the two together, which has really inspired me. Some of our YouTube videos I want to do, the science and sports and try to show that, it's important that you stay active and healthy, and then here's the science behind it, and trying to explain, like for instance, I'm dying to get in with the Omaha supernovas, and I would love to do a whole series of featuring these amazing female athletes, and then also talking about all the science involved in volleyball and jumping and hitting and stuff like that. So
we've kind of talked on that quite a bit. We've had some different guests. Well, we had Supernovas.
We had Supernova on.
And then we had another professor who played volleyball. We kind of talked about the kinesiology of volleyball, and we kind of have actually.
Yeah, there's a rich. Yeah, there's.
We've kind of linked to those things in some of our past episodes. I get what you're feeling. It's a great
pairing.
It is a great pairing. I was the same. I played sports in college, and I'm an artist and total nerd. Total book nerd, but that is hard because you're depending on where you're at, right? So I kind of liked it because I didn't have any one particular group. I was so involved in all the other things that it kind of gave me a really unique point of view, I think, of my social settings, in that when I got out of it, even when I played sports in college, it was still, I was still studying art, and I was still doing studying all sorts of different things that I didn't feel, I felt like I didn't belong in one place so much that I didn't feel like I had to belong in one place almost in that. So it was kind of like that weird, I don't belong here, but cool. I don't care if I belong to this one or that one. Does that make sense?
Yeah. In a way you kind of belonged everywhere.
Correct.
So you didn't have any one single, but in a way you could kind of hop from group to group and interact. And may I ask what sport?
I played volleyball. I was a three-sporter. I did volleyball and swimming and soccer, and I ended up playing volleyball in college. So
okay, wow.
Yeah.
How about you? What did you do?
I was soccer in college.
Cool. Where did you play?
I played at Ball State University.
Oh, nice. I had some friends that played volleyball, males that played volleyball at Ball State, which not a lot of them. They I don't know if they still have them.
Now more.
Yeah.
So, I think.
Yeah. Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you still play?
No, I've had to. Well, I think I'm just too. I have to go to work on Monday. I want so desperately to go play in the pickup games on the weekends and do the co-ed league thing. And it just hurts too bad.
Yeah.
I really want to be out there, but I have to. At some point, it takes me a week to recover, and then I'm right back in it. And then I'm hurt, and I've got the week.
Yes. Yeah. You're like, well, that it is true. That recovery time gets.
It's that side to side motion for me. So I love, I can run, no problem, but it's that back and forth that you do in soccer. So my hip flexors won't allow me anymore.
My calves. Well, I still cramp all the time. I still work out. But I'm like, and still play. One of the things I still continue to do since high school is jump rope as my main source of exercise. But my calves, like I'm like, what's happening? They will not recover as fast. I'm downing pickle juice like every single day. So to try to ward off the cramping. But yeah. I like the way that you said that pairing of it, because it's true. I think it's like kind of like the STEM field itself, or STEAM, including the arts. It's like it's a really cool community of professions or passions. I had a program at Westside High School for years. It was a grant program, and it was called CAPS, and it was the Center for Advanced Professional Studies. And the grant was to get students 9 to 12, grades 9 to 12, engaged in fields where we were kind of bringing in a lot of foreign talent, because we didn't have enough domestically to fulfill those roles that are needed. As we were seeing that more so, the talents in STEM and health sciences and IT in itself were being kind of brought in to the country, rather than having the students who are already here be the talent that they fill those jobs. And so STEM was a huge piece. And the teacher, Judith Stuckey is the teacher I was speaking about, who I love, was a great example of that pairing, right? So they taught the science classes and was part of our program, but then she was the advisor for the Renaissance Club, and they would do like they would all have their costumes and everything during our clubs, and but it was this passion of like, I think when you're in a particular mindset of exploration and experimentation, then you're just like, it almost branches out to every part, right? Like, I'm total nerd in this sense, but I really, really love Renaissance fairs and what, like, it was just a really cool, like, like you felt so belonged, I think.
I love that.
Yeah, that's so cool that you do that. Yeah. Sorry, I'm now gushing over that.
So what else do you do with your free time when you're not teaching and on screen?
It's a lot of, I do just like to be active. So just, I do live in Florida, and so I'm constantly outside all year round, which is wonderful. But really into triathlons now, so that's how I kind of my focus and that. And but I also like scuba diving and so there's a lot of cool places too in Orlando. We've done like the indoor skydiving, and
I want to do that.
Yeah, that was a ton of fun. So just like kayaking, just all that stuff, just to be outside.
That's cool. Like not the typical physics professor kind of activities.
Yes.
Yeah, we were trying to we wanted Professor Sko almost to feel like a superhero. And so a lot of the stuff that I do, we video it as Professor Sko. So we have some fun videos of her scuba diving in the Florida Keys, and she's got her slinkies, and she's underwater as Sko, and the indoor skydiving was done as Professor Sko, and so we're just trying to show that, like you just how you're saying, the overlapping, there is, you don't have to be put in any kind of box, and being into science is cool. You can be a cool physics professor. And I'm definitely not who I had as a physics professor. And so I've wanted to, when my students walk in the first day of college, they are not expecting to see me as their professor. And so I've wanted to take advantage of that just to show that, science is cool, and that
you bring a different perspective. If if everyone was cookie cutter and looked and thought the same, then nothing would advance. So, I did triathlons for a little bit, so I was curious. So what kind of distance do you like to do, or are you?
Well, I've done them all, but I've done up to like the full Ironman ones, and but not as of recently. So I keep it to the shorter sprint distances, just because. I don't know, the thought of trying to fit in that training for those longer ones. It's like a part-time job.
It is.
Training. So I'm now down to like the short sprints, an Olympic maybe. What did you do?
So I did first with Team and Training. So Dee and I have talked about this for a while. It's kind of like an endurance training fundraiser for Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. So I did
purple.
Yep, purple.
Yes, that's purple. So we did an Olympic distance as our first one, and of the endurance programs they had, that was like the most fun to do because the training at least was different. Like it wasn't run 12 miles and then run 18 miles.
That's
but
why I like it.
I loved. I turned out like
up.
I liked. Oh, I could swim now, and so I enjoyed the swimming part of it. And then I tried sprint distance, and I feel like Olympic was like my sweet spot. I know my husband, when he tried one, he's like, oh, maybe someday, like maybe half Ironman, because like you said, we had friends who were training for Ironman, and it's such a commitment to be able to do the distance in all three sports.
Well, congratulations on that. Also,
I didn't do try. I did a bunch of marathons. I oddly, I didn't. There was no reason I didn't do triathlon. I mean, I'm a swimmer too, so that didn't make sense. But to me, I felt like the training was a little bit more boxing for me because I do other things on top of. I would do other things on top of the running, so it was kind of I'm really all over the place. So it's just kind of like I could just run and not have to think for a little bit rather than like, okay, now I have to swim. Like, which is so weird when you were saying that because I was like, I never thought about it in that way. But I think, there was no reason. I never thought about why I don't know why I didn't do any triathlon in that sense with you.
There's a really cool program that they have here in Omaha.
Okay.
So there's a triathlon club for adults like Ironhawk. Is it Ironhawk?
It's Ironhawk.
And then so a woman decided that to try to bring in more girls into the sport, she started this Junior Ironhawks program, and it's just for girls. And the way they have it set up is that there's no cost to be a part of it. And if you don't know how to swim, they have swimming lessons. If you don't have a bike, they provide bikes and helmets.
So cool.
And so anything that you needed, they had it all provided so there was no barrier. And so like, I had my daughter do it one year because I'm like, it's neat for you to try to do a triathlon and have this accomplishment. So she did it with friends, and I think they were maybe 9 years old when they did it. And so these are, much shorter versions of a triathlon, but to just watch these young girls just cross the finish line, it was just like, oh my gosh, everyone was like
had
emotional.
a good experience with it.
Yeah, and there's like everyone's clapping, and it was neat to see that there were some immigrant families there that were so proud of their daughter crossing the finish line. It was just like, I loved this program and how it was like what you do is like starting with a younger age and getting them interested in showing that, you can do this and this is fun.
That sounds wonderful. I think to me it's about giving them a positive experience young, no matter whether it's triathlon or with science or whatever it might be, and just making sure that they feel confident, and they have a great experience. And you don't know when that could really change somebody's life. That could be a life-changing experience for them to do an experiment and have it work out and understand it, or finishing a triathlon at 9 years old is incredible no matter the distance. It could be a life-changing experience to where kind of platforms them.
You never know.
It's true. It's awesome. And I think the point, to your point earlier about representation, about being able to see themselves in somebody who is already doing the thing is so helpful. And I think it's something that has been overlooked way too long. And even the idea of representation, people like a lot of times will think of like diversity, inclusivity, and go along the lines of like, different culture things. But it's more so, I mean, the gap between, male and female like opportunities as far as, as we've grown up is massive. And being able to kind of not only bring light to that, but then show it's like, but whatevs, right? Like here we are doing this. Let's all do this. I think that removing those barriers that are kind of set in place for regardless, like, young boy or girl, but also like understanding that it goes a little bit further for like having all those resources for those little girls to do a triathlon is amazing. Yeah, that's cool.
Such cool. Like you would love. I could see you volunteering for it.
Yeah,
like, they just.
I'm like I totally want to.
The best part.
They have so many adult like volunteers that are like
ringing
the
the cowbell. That's the most fun.
I would love that. I would. You know, Eli and I have talked about. It's like, why don't you coach? And I was like, I don't know. Like I'm a wellness and life coach. I'm a Gallup. You know, but I was like, my kids never played any of my sports, so I just never really did, but I would love to. I think that'd be so fun to get involved in. I love that stuff so much.
And you've done some community events that are kind of health oriented with kids.
It sounds very similar to what you're doing here in Omaha.
Okay, what do you do?
Yeah, so we do the same thing where we eliminate all the barriers. And so we have a triathlon club, and it's just about making the sport, because a multi-sport, you know, can be expensive, and even those races have continued to become expensive. So especially we want to make it accessible to everyone. And even in terms of, like you mentioned, the equipment, just having a bicycle a kid may not have, or a helmet. And so our club gets together, and we offer like monthly youth trainings. And so you can come, and we have bicycles if they need it. And then we put on multi-sport events, and you mentioned too, like, so it may just be like a swim run, but we'll provide the swim lessons to give them the confidence to get in the water. And we also we'll do duathlons as well as the triathlons. And so, yeah, it's just about trying to give them a quality, positive experience that they may not otherwise have access to. And like seeing their faces light up when they get their first ever medal is really, really awesome. And we do that too for adults as well. So, you know, to join the club, I think it's it's free for kids under 17 and under, but then it's $25 a year for a person to join, and we offer lots of group trainings, because I've learned through triathlon it can be a very individual sport, and so it's really nice though to build community around that and have group training sessions available if people choose to do it, and just building the friendships. Like some of the most amazing people I've ever met is through sport, whether it's triathlon or soccer, and so trying to build that community.
Great. What's the club's name? Or
it's a Claremont Triathlon Club.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Kim and I, we did our first marathons together. Ever.
Oh my gosh, a training buddy.
It was really fun.
Everything.
Different speeds, but
It was really fun.
like just to talk about
but to
it.
have so we would talk and just
Misery
kind of hold
Loves
each other
Company or something. Is that
it
like
was
that?
great.
Yeah,
it was great. I loved it.
Yeah, and the post race, like I enjoyed our pre-race, like just hanging out beforehand, because we team and training, like the neat thing about it is that the race that you select is usually in
a great
location. So we did the Honolulu Marathon, our first one ever.
You left that part out.
Yeah, we did. So you started in the morning, like sunrise on It was gorgeous.
That sounds.
And so we, having never run that full distance before, it was like it was shocking the day after.
It was
like I didn't know I was going to hurt this.
It was weird, and I had a special case because I oh my gosh, that race was so fun. But I was in the hospital right before we went. I have chronic kidney stones, and so having gone, I went within. I think we left 5 days after. I was still on a bunch of my a bunch of stuff. And anyways, I'm not gonna. It's a long story. I'm going to tell it very short because it is really funny to the point of like the post race thing. But I had this medical emergency situation happen around mile 18 and then 20. One of the coaches from Team and Training, who I bawled my eyes at when I saw them at the banquet that night, but was like, okay, like what's happening? And I said, and he's like, you got two choices here. Like the medical staff is here to come get you, and then whatevs. But you're telling me that you're on the meds. You're telling me all these things that are answering questions of whether or not you can do this. If you're going to do this, let's do this. And I was like, yeah, it's mile 20. I was like, I'm not going to stop.
Go to Hawaii and stop.
Yeah. So then he's like, all right, let's go. And he ran the remaining 6 with me, and then so Kevin and Kim have a picture of me crossing the line, and then I get pulled off by my medical crew, and I get like 3 bags or 2, some just of IV, and all this stuff happens, right? So then the next morning, or we get back to the hotel, and we're all the marathoners are in the pool at the hotel in our race gear, like we all just dive in, and the next morning, you can see who participated in the run because people are not walking very well.
No, it's that like waddle thing.
But I was doing okay, and I was like, "Why am I doing?" Like I was like, "Why am I all right?" And I'm pretty sure it's because I got pumped full of
the 3 IV bags. Yeah. Okay. There's a positive for ending up in the medical tent.
Yeah, there is. And then now they have IV like businesses for people to get hydrated. I was like, oh my gosh, they should have those tents at Maryland. I was like, I didn't even think about that.
Great, even though at one point you didn't know if you could finish, and then now post the next day you're feeling better than anybody else.
Right.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was quite the experience. But but the team in training, back to community, that was so emotional. The banquet, we had a race carve out the night before, and then the night of the race, we got to get all dolled up. We had a big banquet for everybody everyone in team and training who came from all over the place, and we're going up the escalator, remember, and they had all of these people just cheering for us and thanking us, and it was just this massive like emotional moment. And then seeing the coach he was from California. I don't remember
what state was he?
He's California. Yeah, it's all I remember. And he was just like, "All right, let's do this then." And I was like, "Okay, cool." But he was so awesome, and he understood that I was like, "No, I don't need to go to the hospital. Please don't make me stop." Like I understand that this is a situation that, if I were in their shoes, I totally would be like, "No, you're not running," right? But I loved that he was able to be like, "She's fine. She's answering all the questions, and she's got all the things and documentation and whatnot." But I was like,
"That's incredible."
Yeah,
I also have kind of a similar story. But I have this line that I always say, like, your crew is your glue that holds your race together. And that could be in anything in life. But like, there was your crew stepping up at mile 20.
Yeah.
And like, no matter what, if you have to crawl, we are getting, getting, you were like, I'm getting to this finish line. That's amazing. And then, just hearing like how, you have that community, like how much more meaningful it was that you two did that together.
Yes.
And you have like, the cool thing about triathlon and endurance sports is like, you always come away with the best stories.
Yeah.
Like that story right there.
Yeah.
No matter what, you're going to come away with some stories you're going to laugh about later.
It's so true.
Yeah.
I just told a story that I forgot about. Eli's daughter was eating some hard candy or whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, my first marathon. And I've never done this in any of my training. They gave us these little bags. And so like some of them had like little lifesavers in them. Remember? And I was like, yeah, that sounds good. I'll put it in my pocket. Though I've never trained with a lifesaver before. So then I was like, oh, I need a little sugar boost. I put the lifesaver in and immediately swallowed it and felt it for like 3 miles. It was like stuck. And you're just like, what? Why would you do that?
Yeah, never do anything new on race day.
No, that was so bad. You're just like, oh my God. I can't even believe it. Oh, yeah, but it's funny. Yeah, I forget about some of those things. Yeah, it's so great. So you're from Florida, and how long are you here?
So I'm here all the time, honestly. So with the producer of the show living here in Nebraska, coming up several, at least every month, and then getting very familiar with Omaha because, like I said, we had this whole, in order for our presentation at the national conference here in Omaha, it was a year buildup because we had this fun storyline where Professor Sko is on her way to the conference, and we decided to make all of these promotional videos of Omaha. So come to Omaha for the national conference, and this is all the amazing things you can do here, with the idea that Professor Sko would end up getting so lost in Omaha that she's late to her talk.
That's hilarious.
And then she ends up surprising everyone. But in doing so, we made 12 videos of different places here in Omaha, and this city is now very, very special to us.
Oh.
Not only was, as a physics professor, getting to present at the National Science Foundation conference is like a bucket list thing, honestly, for me. But then just getting to experience Omaha, and it's really kind of inspired us. learning about all the history here and getting to visit places like Pioneer Park.
Yeah.
And we got to see the big boy locomotive. So we did a video on steam engines, went to the Durham Museum, all of this. And we had a funny video of where my robots we were pretending to be Lewis and Clark. And we were lost in front of the Missouri River, right in front of Bob the Bridge. And we just had a blast making these videos. So we have this idea more of like, let's do more interdisciplinary.
Yeah.
So thanks to Omaha, we're now trying to create a series of like incorporating the social sciences and social studies with the science. Because it just fell into place when we were doing the videos here. And also we did a funny video where we went into the Charles Schwab Stadium, and my robots and I were really, really early for the College World Series. So it was completely empty, and we were sitting there and just dreaming of baseball glory. And we ended up getting kicked out. And but we have this. We still had she's talking about all the science of how a fastball works and a slider and things, trying to educate the robots. And that's encouraged us, like I mentioned, with the Omaha Supernovas, to try to build a whole sports series.
That's
But it
awesome.
came from just making a video about the right outside Charles Schwab Stadium.
I love that. So what are some of the favorite places other than the ones that you already mentioned?
Well, we did a video. I have yet to visit. I wanted to go to DJ's Dugout.
Yeah.
And then right across the street was this indoor putt-putt that looked really, really fun that we have yet to visit.
Fat putter.
The
fat putter.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Is it? Okay. It looks really cool. And as far as we got to visit the gardens, and that was really pretty.
Yeah.
And I'd say Old Town, though, was probably my favorite.
Oh, the Old Market?
Yeah, the Old Market.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yes. And you can imagine it was a really busy day, and I had my 2 robot lab assistants with me, and we were walking in the middle of the crowd shooting video.
That's awesome.
And just everybody not knowing who we were, why we were there, but, just kept all the heads turning. And so we had the robots go into a bunch of different stores and play around.
That's
and
fun.
that the Hollywood candy was so cool. So actually, that's probably my favorite.
Have you gone to the Luminarium?
No.
Yeah.
But that
you'd like
is
that place.
definitely
You would love it,
a
yeah.
place. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was just opening, or is it?
Yeah. It's just been over a year. Since
Yeah.
it's
So
been
it was
open,
right
yeah.
around the time they were finishing up and we were shooting. So yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. Those are some of my favorite places too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we ask our guests at the end of every episode the same question, and we'll see if I'm curious your answer here. But where do you find inspiration in Omaha, and then maybe in your hometown too, or where you live now?
Honestly, just for the people. So through the Professor Sko Science Show, I've gotten to interact with a lot of elementary teachers, and I am gaining inspiration from the teachers here locally in Omaha that I've gotten to work with, the ones that I get to work with at home, and seeing how much love they put into those students every single day. And that's given me inspiration to keep up with the character and trying to do my part and trying to make their job easier by building these resources and videos that they can use, that parents can use at home, and just I want to make it easier for teachers and parents to science with their kids.
Yeah. I love you using science as a verb, by the way. I dig it so much. I'm like, we don't say, I
always say sciencing. I made it up, but
I don't say arting. I kind of dig that a lot. Sorry. I love how you keep using science as a verb.
Our tag phrase is keep sciencing.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
And how about, is this, I guess that carries over to where you're in Florida, whether you're in Florida or in Omaha. Yeah. That's awesome.
Definitely.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you wanted to shout out or mention before we end? Is there you forgot to
Plug anything?
Yeah. Just your chance.
I think just that we have the professorsko.com is our website, and not only do we have the YouTube video series, but within there Professor Sko will always ask a question to the viewer, and then she answers it on her website, and it's called In the Know. So if you don't know, check out In the Know, and you can find that on the website. And so it's just a way to further investigate the science from the videos, and I think it's a great way, again, for parents and teachers to interact with the students.
Yeah, that is great. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Oh My Omaha, the podcast. We want to thank our guest, Hurrdat Media, all of you for your support, and the Omaha community at large.
So from Dee and I, keep on exploring.